Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thanks, Jim. Once again, you do a fantastic job every year, so appreciate it. So again, good morning. So I have a little opening remarks, and then we'll turn it over. We do have some students here from our various schools that they're getting the Do the Right Thing Award. We will be recognizing them and have them head back to school. I think they've got some things they need to finalize before the end of the school. So in the fall of 2019, law enforcement, the way we knew it, changed with the aggressive criminal justice and bail reform laws. As we attempted to digest and rewrite the policies and align with the new laws, in early March 2020, we then began to hear about coronavirus, which we all know today as COVID-19, which presented law enforcement with challenges, creating a different approach to policing must take in order to serve traditional public safety functions. The Governor's Executive Order 202 and over the 55-plus addendums continue to add pressure to law enforcement professionals to balance the safety of the public as well as the rights of citizens. As the nation and our own country shut down, members of the Sheriff's Office continue to protect and serve in order to maintain public safety. We must also reflect on the events that occurred across our country in 2020, leading to systemic changes within law enforcement. Law enforcement leaders understand and are willing to modify policies, introduce training in order to make sure that we meet the needs of all, irrespective of race, gender, or identity. Executive Order 203, the Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative that was signed by the governor and the legislative body in Albany, required all law enforcement agencies to develop and adopt a plan that address these issues within their communities. I am proud to say, with the help of many in this office, the Office of Sheriff developed a plan which was adopted without any major changes. We stand here today to honor and pay tribute to the men and women of the Ontario County Office of Sheriff, who protect the freedoms and provide public safety daily to ensure that we all are safe in our homes, our schools, our jobs, or simply driving down the street. The bravery and heroism that law enforcement officers display every day is second to none and should remind us of the debt of gratitude we owe all members of law enforcement. I would urge all present to take a moment to reflect on the duties, obligations, and potential dangers. Thank you. Part of our ceremony each and every year, we have a remembrance for our fallen officers. Our police officers and peace officers take risks daily to protect and serve, to secure the safety of the Ontario County citizens. Today, we remember those members of the Sheriff's Office who made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting and serving Ontario County. We remember Under Sheriff Ernest Kursky. His end of watch was Monday, October 25th, 1937. Under Sheriff Kursky succumbed to injuries sustained 3 days earlier when he was struck by a motor vehicle while on duty. Deputy Sheriff Jack Fennell, end of watch Friday, August 31st, 1951. Deputy Fennell succumbed to gunshot wounds received almost 3 months earlier while trying to stop 4 suspects who had just robbed a filling station attendant of $250 on Route 20 near Canandaigua. All 4 suspects were captured a short time later at a roadblock in Geneva in an exchange of gunfire with police. Deputy Sheriff Truman J. Becker. End of watch Friday, July 17, 1981. Deputy Becker was killed in an automobile accident while on duty. He had served with the sheriff's office for just under 18 years. And Deputy Sheriff Malcolm Strong, end of watch Wednesday, February 2nd, 1983. Deputy Strong was killed in an automobile accident while on duty. He had served with the sheriff's office for just over 4.5 years. We must never forget these deputies, and we commend them for the ultimate sacrifice to our county. Again, if we can have a moment of silence for respecting these individuals. And I think as we reflect, we also need to reflect on the men and women throughout the country that have also paid the ultimate sacrifice. Again, law enforcement is getting more challenging every day, and we have seen a significant increase in members of law enforcement agencies giving their ultimate sacrifice. Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the Do the Right Things Award, and then we will finish with our program. So today, at the Office of Sheriff, I would like to recognize the group of young people in our county who have done the right thing. And it is my pleasure to introduce Donna Schertle. Those that don't know Donna has been involved not only with this office, but the law enforcement community as a whole. She's very supportive of everything we do, and Donna is also very supportive of not only her local community, but the county as a whole. One of the things that we love to do is recognize our young adults that go above and beyond and do the right thing. So we will start with Deputy Bob Holland. Mm-hmm. Would you like to say anything prior?
I just want to thank the SROs. I know they're not all here, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but I always like to make sure people understand this program is done mostly because of our school resource officers, and I try to always push that in the schools and let the community know how important our school resource officers are. And for the families that are here, I hope you understand how important they are, and they notice when kids do the right thing, and they want a way to recognize them. And this has been a really good way to do it, even though it's been a really tough year to do it. Yeah. So, Deputy Holland, if you can come up with your winner. Student. And if I can have Miss Liberty and Angel come on up.
Well, no, do you have
the reading?
Yeah.
Aaron's going to read.
Oh, Aaron, that's right. I'm sorry, Aaron. He did. I didn't pay attention.
Thank you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce everybody?
I'm Deputy Bob Holland, and this is John Neal. He's a student at Mid-Lakes School District with his parents, and the principal from Mid-Lakes, who I'm glad was able to attend as well, Mr. Bay Rossi. John Neal is in the law enforcement program along with his teacher, Donna, from
Connie.
Flick. Or Connie, sorry. I'm thinking. So the thing is John Neal has done several things over the last year that actually should be recognized, and it was brought to my attention by one of the teachers of something that I heard about, and it got to the point where the teachers recognize what he's been doing outside of the school district as well. So I asked the teacher to acknowledge it through the Do the Right Thing Award, and this is the teacher from Mid-Lakes, Erin Everson, who I'd like her to read her reading from the Do the Right Thing Award, and then we'll present some things for him. Thank you.
So I'm Erin Everson. I am Jot Neal's math teacher this year, and what started on a Monday morning was Jot Neal explaining to me why his math homework was not done that day, which evolved into a very long story, but felt he was most deserving of this honor. So Jot Neal is worthy of acknowledgement for the Do the Right Thing Award due to using his first responder skills he learned in his criminal justice program at BOCES during an incident that occurred on four-wheelers. At around 4 p.m. on April 1st, 2021, while out riding his dirt bike, Jotniel heard about a passenger on the back of a four-wheeler that had been involved in an accident and was injured. When Jotniel arrived at the scene, he introduced himself as being a certified in professional rescue and first aid and had asked for the victim's consent before providing care. After an initial observation, Jotniel made the decision to call 911 and explain to the dispatcher about the situation and the status of the victim. With the help of the other people in the group, Jotniel drove the victim to a location that would make it easier for the ambulance. As emergency personnel, police, fire, and paramedics arrived at the scene, Jotniel also stepped into the role of translator between them and the victim. Jotniel was able to tell the first responders what the victim was feeling, and he was able to communicate with the victim about what care was being provided to him. Jotniel also assisted the firemen in getting the victim into stable position and to provide care. Before leaving the victim, the police officer and the fireman thanked Jotniel for his help and told him he did an excellent job. I am incredibly impressed with Jotniel's ability to jump into an emergency and handle it with expertise. His ability to provide care, translate for the victim, all while staying calm is very mature for a high school student. His future career goals are in law enforcement, and any force would be lucky to have him. Congratulations, Jotniel. You are most deserving of this honor.
Award. Congratulations, along with a gift card. But I also would like to, I want you folks to also know that I felt that the program from BOCES, the teachers, the principal, who was totally impressed with his student, we decided we wanted to give him a certificate. And I originally wanted to give it to him in his classroom, and I got everybody's permission except for his, because he didn't want to make a big deal about it in front of his students. So I want you to know that not only is he more than worthy of that award, he is just a true gentleman. So this is signed by your principal, your superintendent, your teacher, myself, and the sheriff. So thank you very much.
We'll sign you up. We'll hire you here
They're
when you're
hiring,
over.
they're hiring. And his parents are here today, so we'd like to commend you as well, because we know this behavior just doesn't appear. It starts at home, so thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Mom, you're okay if he becomes a deputy, right? Okay. That's what my mother did 38 years ago. So, okay, we got Deputy Scott Lambert, who's with the Marcus Whitman School.
Okay, Cameron, please come forward. As the sheriff stated, I'm the SRO at Marcus Whitman, and Cameron is a ninth grader at Marcus Whitman. He deserves to be nominated, and this nomination was from one of our staff members, Bonnie Stathis. Cameron deserves to be nominated for this award for many reasons. He goes above and beyond to learn within the classroom. He not only puts forth his best effort each day into his schoolwork, but is a critical thinker and asks questions that challenges even his teachers' thinking. Cameron also helps create a safe and caring environment within and outside of the school. Most notable, Cameron has taken this year was reaching out to staff members multiple times and was concerned about a peer threatening to hurt themselves and possibly end their life. Although his friend did not want him informing anyone about this, Cameron made the difficult decision to tell a trusted adult, who in turn reported this to me. After taking steps to possibly save his peer's life, this is not where Cameron stopped. Although his friend was angry with him for reaching out to an adult the first time, Cameron prioritized their safety a second time when concerns arose again. This time, he not only reached out to a staff member, but he advocated that his peer receive more long-term help so they can get to a much happier, healthier place. Kevin wants the best for those around him and is willing to make a difficult choice each time in order to help others. And in this particular situation, the individual did receive extra extended care and has made a much more positive difference in that student's life who actually stayed and finished the rest of the school year. So with that said, it gives me great pleasure to present Cameron with Ontario County Do the Right Thing Award.
Yes, Cameron, nice job. That was a pleasure. Nope, we are all set. We did have other winners from Marcus Whitman that did a nice job, but these two really stood out for Do the Right Thing. So hopefully COVID's over, and next year we'll be back to normal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Donna,
for
thank you.
including us. Really appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, everyone.
I appreciate it. Again, as Donna stated, and we all know in the room, or those that aren't part of the law enforcement community, the school resource officer program is invaluable. I'm sure any of the staff from any of these schools will tell you. Again, not to go too much on the rhetoric, but when we began dealing with all these challenges with the law enforcement, police reform, and defund the police, there was talk about pulling these school resource officers, these deputies, out of these schools. That would be the biggest injustice that we ever can do. Again, we have great relationships with our school communities. I have a great relationship with the superintendents. We have dialogue because, again, we realized Investigator Bill Wellman's here. I was a school resource officer, obviously Deputy Lambert and Deputy Holland, and anybody else that's in here I missed. We know the relationships that these school resource officers build with these students is second to none. I've been out of the program since 2018. I still run into students that come up to me and say how grateful they are to this program. So keep up the good work, Donna, and we'll look forward to doing this in the future, so thank you. So it's up to you, students. If you got to get back, that's fine. Grab a sandwich to go. If not, you're welcome. We have about another 15, 20 minutes of the program. So now we're going to recognize the outstanding acts of heroism, bravery, life-saving, and exceptional performance above and beyond the call of duty by members from all divisions of the Ontario County Office of Sheriff. The Sheriff's Award Committee has brought forth the following recognition and dedication to public safety. So we're going to start, excuse me, with letters of commendation. So this is Pod 2 staff, and those that aren't familiar with what a pod is, we have housing units over in the secure side of the jail. We call them pods. So this is a letter of commendation, and if you're here, I understand we can't have everybody. Deputy Tiffany. Alicia, is she here? Deputy Green. Come on up if I call your name. Sorry if I didn't say that. Come on up. Deputy Streeter. Deputy Abbott. Deputy Marthage. Deputy Velez Ramos. Deputy Roney. These are all our female correctional officers. Holy cow. Deputy Winterhall Levesque. Deputy Dura. Geez, you're on your own, it looks like. Deputy Bartlett. Deputy Ash. Deputy Moore. Let's see, Penny. Deputy Biggs. Well, you are on your own. But there they are. Come on up. I didn't see you guys. Come on up. So while they're on their way up, basically this is a letter of commendation for all these correction officers, the deputies, as well as those that aren't here. This is a recognition submitted by Sergeant Stacy Lambert, and she is basically nominating the Pod 2 deputies. The female officers have come up with various ways to work around all the problematic issues that have been occurring within the unit. Not saying that our female pod's challenging, but they are. So they continue to work together with one another and trying to improve how to make sure that the unit is running efficiently and smoothly. Pod 2 has been a challenge this past year with all of what we call the 70-75 changes, which is through the Commission of Corrections. on top of the already very difficult inmates to try to improve behavior. As noted, back in February of 2019, during the supervisory meeting, all the females were working with one another to make sure the unit maintained consistency and that communication between each shift was passed, which is vital. The female inmates in this unit have been very trying for the staff, and yet the staff still maintains professionalism, even when things are very challenging, messy, unbearable during an 8-hour shift or more, we understand. I believe selecting the female correction officers for this award will mean a great deal, and we truly do appreciate it. We have a small number of female inmates, but unfortunately, there are some dynamics, and what these deputies have to deal with every day is very difficult. Again, with the commission and new laws that we're now dealing with, there's less that we can do to hold them accountable. So having the focus that these deputies do is very much appreciated. So we do have commendation letters for you. Let's see here. Deputy Green, here's yours. Okay. All right, thank you, ladies. Thank you. Okay. We don't have Ryan. Senior Communication Officer Rob Castor. Is he here? I thought, okay. Oh, no, he's not. He's at, okay, so we'll pass on Rob. Rob is basically being recognized with his, this is a very lengthy one, but I'll basically kind of push off some bullet points. Senior Dispatcher Robert Castor was working on February 29, 2020 at roughly 8:05 in the morning. He took a call from an OnStar reporting that one of their customers who was operating a vehicle near Seneca Point Road and Bopple Hill Road down in the town of Canandaigua had gone over a cliff. OnStar was reporting the vehicle was upside down and dangling over a 100-foot drop, and the driver was injured and trapped inside. Senior Communication Officer Castor quickly started his CAT event, dispatching fire, EMS, law enforcement, so first responders could get there quickly to help this individual. The caller was an 82-year-old male who was in the vehicle, was complaining of a head injury. Senior Communication Officer Castor kept the caller on the line, reassuring him that their help was on the way. He kept him calm because where the vehicle was almost to a point where it was going to go over the cliff. Once the fire department and EMS arrived, it was determined that the car was actually in a position where at any time it could go over. Mutual aid, along with a tow truck, were dispatched to stabilize the vehicle in order to do an extrication of the patient. This was a very prolonged technical rescue. Senior Communication Officer Castor did a very excellent job keeping the caller calm on the line the entire time until they were able to extricate him. So that's something to definitely be proud of. So we do recognize him for that. Investigator Eric Shrew. Eric here? No? Okay. This basically is a memorandum for, at the time, Investigator Shrew was a deputy. This occurred on August 7th, 2019 at approximately little after 2 o'clock in the little after 2 o'clock in the evening, little after 6 o'clock in the evening, I apologize. There was a 911 call received from a distraught male threatening suicide. The male reported that he was in a park in the pavilion on Oak Mound Ave in the village of East Bloomfield with a noose tied around his neck and was preparing to step off of a rock. Deputies arrived quickly on the scene and found the male just as reported to be ready to hang himself. He was restrained by deputies, requested to speak with them, and refused to remove the noose, and he had no reasons left to live. Deputy Shrew's calm demeanor, sympathy, and engaging nature would ultimately convince the male to remove the noose and step down to speak with him. The male was taken into custody for mental health evaluation without incident. Deputy Shrew's quick response and actions on the scene that evening was instrumental in preserving the man's life. effort like Deputy Shrew and all the deputies, the men and women that are out there, and also the deputies in our correctional division, deal with these types of cases almost, I hate to say it, almost on a weekly basis sometimes. So we recommend Deputy Shrew / investigator now for his actions on this incident. We'll make sure he gets this letter. Okay, if we could have, let me just ask a question. All these? So these two with all these? Oh, okay. Okay. So again, this is a large number of folks that were going to be recognized for this. We know, did Deputy Winterholt, did she come in the room since you were talking? Deputy Francher, Sergeant Killian, I know Sergeant's here. Sergeant Tomes. Deputy Schneider. Daphne Biggs. Deputy Bradford. Deputy Earhart. Deputy Justin Green. Deputy Dura. Deputy Kicker. Deputy Ross. And if we have our nurses, Dawn Newt, Brittany Tay, Cheryl Prevey. There she is. Peyton's. Okay, Peyton here.
He's right there. He came up
there,
first.
oh, there you are, right there, okay. We're gonna have you step aside, yours is different. So. Okay, this was submitted by Chief Corrections Deputy Officer Kristen Smith on December 16th, 2019, between the hours of 13:15 and 13:16, which is a little after 3:15. Inmate Tyler Ferrier exited his cell and went to Pod 6 officer's desk to speak with the pod officer about books. This inmate then returned to his cell briefly for a moment and then exited his cell with a sheet around his neck. The pod officer yelled for the inmate to stop. The inmate did not comply with this order. The inmate then quickly ran up the mezzanine, which is the second tier. We have a two-tier unit. Ran up the mezzanine stairs and tied a sheet around the mezzanine railing. The inmate proceeded then put both legs over the railing. Officer Hartman immediately called the code for Pod 6, which is a response to come to the pod, as soon as he observed this inmate run up the stairs with the sheet around his neck. Various officers, many of those are standing here, responded to this. Officer Blair was immediately able to make contact with the inmate and began a dialogue with the inmate in an attempt to get him to climb back over the railing. Officer Blair had a good rapport with the inmate. The inmate was visibly upset and could be seen shaken. Deputy Winterholt Levesque then began speaking with the inmate as well. She attempted to get the inmate to listen to her engage as well as by stating, "You know me." And again, by that, these deputies do get to know these inmates and build a rapport, just like our school resource officers do with the kids. Both officers Blair and Winterholt indicated to the inmate that if he came down, they would get him the help that he needs. They asked him if he could step back over the railing, but he appeared to be very distraught and was shaking too much to do so. At this time, officers Blair and Winterholt asked the inmate if they may come up the stairs and assist him with getting back over the railing. After a short period of time, inmate nodded that he could. Both officers Blair and Winterholt then went to the top of the stairs, assisted with removing the sheet from the inmate's neck and the railing to bring him to safety. The inmate was then able to be evaluated by mental health staff and placed on a constant watch, which is a watch where an inmate is watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Both of these officers treat inmates with dignity. All these officers treat inmates with dignity, not just the two, but everybody does, with respect and good rapport with the inmate population. It is their willingness and ability to do so that lend itself to a very positive outcome on this day, not only for the inmate, but for the facility. Thanks for their action, this young man's life was saved. And again, I'm very proud of the work that everybody does each and every day, the fulfillment of their duties. And it's cases like this that we don't hear a lot out in the community, but they do this every day. So I'm very honored to be able to present this to them. So thank you for the great work that you do. Give me a folder.
This is for
Huh?
this is for the group that you have up here now. This was for Vlad.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not here.
okay.
Yeah, this is the whole group.
And then I'm just handing this to them, or this is a different?
Yeah, no, this is separate. This is
Okay. Apologize, when we have these large groups, we're trying to keep everything straight. So this is another of these individuals up here. This is another letter of commendation. This is on August 5th, 2020, at approximately 12:23. An inmate in the custody of the jail attempted commit suicide by slamming his head into the cell door jamb and wall with a heavy security slider type cell door. The inmate completed a phone call with a family member on the outside and returned to his cell. Correction Officer Schneider, the pod officer, noticed that the inmate had left his cell door open after entering the cell. Officer Schneider asked the inmate to close the cell door. At this time, the inmate stuck his head out the cell door and proceeded to slam the cell door on his head twice. And these are very heavy doors. The inmate collapsed on the floor. Officer Schneider immediately radioed for assistance. Correction officers and medical staff responded to the inmate housing unit. Chief Correction Officer Smith, Lieutenant Dietschler, Sergeant Killian, Sergeant Tomes, Deputies Biggs, Winterhalt, Bradford, Earhart, Justin Green, Dura, Martin Lozada, Deputy Kickert, and Deputy Parker Ross responded to this code white call, which is a suicide attempt. Treatment was rendered by the sheriff's and the sheriff's 911 was notified for EMS response. The inmate was transported to the hospital for further treatment for his injuries. He sustained a laceration to both sides of his head and was checked over to ensure that there were no other injuries resulting from this attempt. The inmate was placed into the housing unit for a 1-to-1 watch. The A-shift corrections and medical staff worked together as a team, and we're truly a team here because we all work together to make sure these duties get done. And were promptly treated in this emergency event. Some of the staff stood out during the incident, which all are up here today, and we want to recognize them. The jail nurses, we're blessed to have a jail nurse medical division, and we're also blessed to have a mental health provider here in this facility pretty much 24/7, and they do a fantastic job every day. The nurses, Dawn Newt, Brittany Tay, and Cheryl Preby, applied bandages, treated for shock, and checked vitals. They maintained observation of the inmate until the EMS arrived and assisted with getting the individual out of the pod. The inmate, again, was treated for self-inflicted injuries with the care and dignity of all these deputies would do for this inmate. And through their efforts, the staff rendered proper medical treatment, expedited his transport to the hospital. The staff worked within a challenging environment, exhibiting courage and professionalism, even through stressful situations. So for this, the chief has nominated them for a letter of commendation, and we're very proud of what they've done. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, you stay up here. Good. Oh. Okay, we have Deputy Peyton Francher. I called him up with the group. I misread that part. But Deputy Francher is a road patrol deputy, and he is getting a memorandum. This was submitted by Sergeant Stephen Swartout. That Deputy Francher on July 20th, 2020, at about right about 6 p.m., Deputy Francher, while on routine patrol in Post 6, which is our Town of Victor area, stopped a motor vehicle after he discovered by running a license plate on the vehicle that the registered owner had a suspended license. Upon identifying the driver, he determined the operator to be someone different than a registered owner. However, observed a small amount of marijuana in the center console and could also smell the strong odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle. Deputy Francher then notified dispatch that he had one male detained and performed a search on the interior of the vehicle. Upon his search, Deputy Francher located a large amount of marijuana that appeared to be packaged for sale in a reusable Wegmans bag that was on the back seat of the vehicle. He then notified the sergeant, which would be Sergeant Swartout, as he was the supervisor. He requested further resources to assist. Ultimately, the total weight of the marijuana was over 25 ounces, which is a Class D felony. This also led to our department writing a search warrant with our SIU, which is our special investigators, which are our narcotics deputies and investigators, for the suspect's cell phone, which led to further suspects of crimes. The continued proactive enforcement that Deputy Francher had displayed in the short amount of time he has been a police officer, and you weren't with us too long. Believe it or not, he is old enough to be a deputy. But I agree. Deputy Francher has done a good job and is really becoming a more highly seasoned deputy. It's because of his desire and motivation to stop violators observed with the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law that this suspect and his almost 2 pounds of illegal drugs are off the streets in Ontario County. Deputy Swartout would like to note that since Deputy Francher's first day off field training, which was April 20th, 2020, until to the date that he did this memorandum, he has stopped over 253 motor vehicles. This number alone shows his dedication to keeping the roadways of Ontario County a safer place to live and work. So by his actions, Sergeant Swartout nominated Deputy Francher for this memorandum, and we're very happy to be giving this to him. Deputy? Good job. So I got to pick on young Deputy Francher. So I get this resume, and he just went through what we call the Southern Tier Police Academy?
Genesee Community College.
Genesee Community College, and he literally put himself through the police academy. And what in New York State, members that want to get on the job and aren't sponsored by an agency can put themselves in what they call a Phase 1 program. Deputy Francher did this. Then he reached out to me. So I gave him a call, and ironically, by his initiative to reach out, I was able to take a look at it, and we were able to get him through the process. And Deputy Francher, to this day, has been a tremendous asset to the office. So again, your initiative actually also helped you there too. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we now? Okay. Sergeant Mark Taylor. Mark. Sergeant Taylor is receiving the Distinguished Service Award. This is submitted from Lieutenant Serencione. The purpose of this memorandum for the award is to recommend Sergeant Mark Taylor for the Ontario County Office prestigious Distinguished Service Award. This award is reserved for members who perform a courageous act at the risk of serious injuries to themselves with knowledge such as risk for the purpose of saving or protecting another. On the morning of January 31st, 2019, and unfortunately we do have some 19s, but because of COVID we couldn't recognize it, so we're doing this today, the 911 center received a call from a female on Route 21 in the town of Canandaigua reporting that her elderly father had fallen through the ice on their pond and was unable to get himself out. She believed that he had been trapped for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. The temperature at the time was below zero with a wind chill factor of minus 25 degrees. The Sheriff's Office, Canandaigua Fire, Canandaigua Emergency were dispatched at 10:40 a.m. Sergeant Taylor responded immediately, arriving at 10:44 a.m. Without hesitation or concern for his own safety, Sergeant Taylor laid himself across the unbroken ice to reach the victim. Sergeant Taylor was able to grasp the elderly victim and pull him to safety. The victim was conscious, suffering from hypothermia. He was rushed to Strong Hospital, where his core temperature was 92 degrees. Thanks to the quick response of Sergeant Taylor and his selfless instinct, he was able to initiate the successful rescue of this victim, despite the risk it posed for his own safety. The victim recovered from hypothermia and was discharged from the hospital. It was the recommendation of Lieutenant Serencione and the committee that the sergeant receive the Distinguished Service Award for his brave actions, and we absolutely agree, and congratulations for that. We'll give that to Mark. A life-saving award is going to be presented to Deputy John Torlish, who's out right now in a medical, so he's not here. But basically, the award he's receiving is on July 15th, 2020, at about 11 in the morning. Deputy Torlish responded to a Maplewood Drive address in the town of Farmington for a law enforcement response with EMS. Upon his arrival, he observed a 39-year-old male lying in the driveway. He was not breathing, had no pulse, and was cold to the touch. Deputy Torlish attached his AED, which immediately advised that a shock to be administered. That shock was administered at 10:58. After the shock, Deputy Torlish began performing chest compressions. Victor Farmington Ambulance arrived shortly after and utilized their AED with alternated chest compressions and rescue breaths. Between 11:10 and 11:42, 6 additional shocks were administered before Mr. Hall was transported by the Victor Farmington Ambulance to Thompson, where he regained a pulse and began breathing on his own. Unfortunately, his condition declined. He was subsequently flown to Strong Memorial Hospital via Mercy flight. On July 16th in the afternoon, Deputy Torlish followed up with Strong Hospital and learned that Mr. Hill was in guarded condition. Deputy Torlish's quick response and actions on the scene that morning were instrumental in preserving Mr. Hill's life. It's like the efforts of Deputy Torlish is why Ontario County remains a safe place in which to live, work, and travel. So we're very happy to give him that award, and when he returns to work, he'll be receiving the award. Investigator Jim Baker. Come on up, Jim. So Investigator Baker, on September 1st, 2020, at approximately noon, Investigator Baker responded to the area of State Route 5 and 20 in the town of East Bloomfield for a law enforcement response with EMS. Upon his arrival, he observed a 41-year-old female lying roadside beside a vehicle. Her brother was actively performing CPR, and she was not breathing and had no pulse. Investigator Baker attached his AED, which all these deputies and investigators carry in their car, which immediately advised that a shock be administered. Upon giving the shock, Investigator Baker then administered a second shock prior to the ambulance personnel taking over life-saving efforts. The female regained a pulse at the scene and began to, with much difficulty, breathe on her own. She was transported to Thompson Hospital by East Bloomfield Ambulance, where life-saving efforts continued until she was transported to Strong Memorial Hospital. Medical professionals advised that the female suffered some sort of medical emergency and her condition was worsened. On September 2nd, at around 3:15 in the afternoon, it was confirmed that she was in guarded condition at Strong Hospital. Investigator Baker's quick response and actions on the scene that morning were instrumental in preserving her life. Efforts, again, like Investigator Baker and all the men and women, continue to make Ontario County a safe place to live, work, and travel. Jim, congratulations. Let me give this to you. Thank you. Deputy Hall here? There he is. So this is a resolution that I'm going to read that was presented by Supervisor Dan Marshall to the Board of Supervisors. What happens is in the county, if a resolution is brought forth by the sheriff or another member, this resolution is put on the floor, and then if it passes, then this becomes a permanent record in Ontario County. This is a resolution authorizing Deputy Ian Hall of the Office of Sheriff for the Stop DWI Top Cop Award in 2020. Historically, this award would be given by the Stop DWI coordinator, but because of COVID, we're doing it internally, and I'm presenting the resolution. Whereas the STOP DWI program historically identified and recognized law enforcement officers that have contributed to the success of STOP DWI program, resulting in improving the safety of roads in Ontario County. And whereas the Ontario County Public Health Department and STOP DWI program deserves to recognize Deputy Ian Hall of the Ontario County Sheriff's Office for his outstanding efforts in keeping the roads of Ontario County safe and award him as 2020 Top Cop. And whereas the Director of Public Health, STOP DWI Coordinator, and the Health and Human Services Committee recommend this award now, therefore be it resolved that upon the review and approval of the County Attorney as to the form of the Board of Supervisors hereby approves the award of Top Cop 2020 to Deputy Ian Hall of the Ontario County Sheriff's Office. Resolved that the Ontario County Administrator and hereby is authorized and empowered to execute said award on behalf of the county. So on that note, Deputy Hall, congratulations for receiving this honor. Okay, Deputy DeWaters. Deputy DeWaters, on the 5th of December, he was off duty, traveling through Pennsylvania. While driving to his destination, Deputy DeWaters observed a Pennsylvania State Highway Patrol officer had a vehicle pulled over. As Correction Waters, or Deputy DeWaters, approached the traffic stop, he noticed that the state police officer appeared to be in distress, as the state police officer was fighting with a male subject. Deputy DeWaters stopped, exited his vehicle in order to assist the state police officer. Deputy DeWaters was able to successfully gain control of the male subject, and the male subject was taken into custody with his assistance. It was reported that the male subject had pulled a handgun against the state police officer, and the state police officer was attempting to gain control of the subject when Deputy DeWaters arrived on the scene. The immediate selflessness actions of Deputy DeWaters, placing the safety of others before himself, brought this potentially life-threatening event to a closure with a positive outcome. I did receive a call from the Commandant of the State Police in Pennsylvania extending his gratitude, and I believe Deputy Waters will be receiving accommodation and recognition from Pennsylvania sometime this year. So it is my great honor to present Deputy DeWaters with the 2020 Corrections Officer of the Year Award. Ryan?
I'm good.
Communication Officer Chris Tiffany. Come on up, Tiff. Communication Officer Tiffany started working with the Ontario County Office Sheriff on July 13, 1998. Graduated from Mid-Lakes, go Mid-Lakes, High School, and was with a bachelor's degree. In addition to his regular daily duties as a 911 call taker and radio dispatcher, Chris has the following special assignments. He is certified as a training officer for new employees. He is a class coordinator at the annual dispatcher school that teaches and certifies new 911 dispatchers in all the Finger Lakes area of the state, reviews and provides quality assurance for medical calls that are handled at the 911 center, serves as a member of the operations team, and is a member of the OC, Ontario County Sheriff's Office recruitment team. Chris has received numerous outstanding service recognition letters over his nearly 22 years of service to the Office of Sheriff 911 Center. In 2019, Chris was tasked with and completed a complete rewrite of the training manual that is used to help guide and train new 911 employees in their first year of employment. He is an active EMT and firefighter with the Oaks Corners Volunteer Fire Department. He also serves as president and he is the current president of the Red Knight Motorcycle Club, Chapter 30 in Geneva, which is a volunteer motorcycle club that raises money for victims of burn and other traumatic injuries. In addition, he has taught EMT, CPR, and first aid classes to his community for several years. It is with our great honor that we present Officer Chris Tiffany with the 2020 Communications Officer of the Year Award. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Okay, if we could have Lieutenant Murphy, Investigator Esquino, I think Matt's here, Deputy Brewer, Investigator Barman, Investigator Hudgens. Did Zach make it?
Zach's way to school.
Oh, that's right. We got Zach actually in school. So, and I got everybody, right? Yeah. So this one's kind of challenging, but I wanted to recognize the work they do, and this is why it's challenging. The members you see standing up here is the Special Investigative Unit with the Sheriff's Office. This deputy and investigators, they are our drug investigators. They go out and get these drugs off our street every day. I can't be more proud of the work they do. We all know that not only the country, but our county is dealing with a huge epidemic when it comes to drug overdoses, especially fentanyl and fentanyl-related deaths. So in order to kind of keep them quasi-hidden, so when you take pictures, don't post this on social media, because as you see, their attire, we have to make sure that they blend in with their environment. But I'm very proud, and I wanted to make sure we recognize them. So during 2019, the SIU unit initiated 120 confidential investigations into the sale and or distribution of drugs in Ontario County, conducting over 80 controlled purchases, using undercover officers and what we call confidential informants. In addition, the special investigators assisted other local and federal agencies with on over 116 occasions, executed 37 search warrants, and assisted with 69 criminal, non-drug-related investigations in Ontario County. So not only are they dealing with the drugs, but they also assist on the day-to-day investigations as well. These guys build up a rapport with all these individuals in the county that really helps with investigations. The investigators assigned to the unit made over 65 arrests and turned over an additional 28 cases to the district attorney's office for presentation to grand jury. Since 2016, the Special Investigation Unit has targeted the sale and distribution of opioids such as fentanyl and heroin in response to the opioid epidemic, as I mentioned earlier. One of the tactics used in the battle in this response of an investigator to suspected opioid overdoses in our county. In 2019, investigators responded to 43 drug overdoses in an effort to obtain information on the source and supply of these drugs and arrest these dealers. That is something that's very critical. If we can go out and find out who's dealing these dangerous drugs and killing those that are struggling with addiction, we held them accountable. As a result of our response, these overdoses with the SIU unit was able to make arrests in 2 fatal opioid overdoses in 2019, which both resulted in guilty plea by the defendants. On May 7, 2019, the SIU arrested an individual for manslaughter in the 2nd degree and criminal sale of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree after he was indicted by the Ontario County Grand Jury for selling narcotics to a victim in the Hamlet of Gorham, which causes overdose death in late 2018. On October 7, 2019, this individual pleaded guilty as charged and was sentenced to 3 years in state prison. On December 11, 2019, the SIU responded to a suspected overdose death in the town of Phelps. Through the investigation text messages, investigators were able to identify the source of the drugs. The individual was located at his residence in the village of Newark, and that afternoon transported back to the sheriff's office, where he was interviewed, admitted to selling drugs to the victim at their residence. At the conclusion of the interview, the individual was charged with manslaughter in the 2nd degree. On September 23, 2020, he pled guilty to manslaughter in the second degree and criminal sale of substance in the third degree and was sentenced to 8 years in state prison. In addition to the arrest and successful prosecution of these drug dealers, the target investigation of the sale and distribution of the opioids contributed to the reduction of the opioid overdose by 32% in 2019, as compared to the number of deaths in 2018 and 2017. Again, it's my honor that we recognize these investigators, the lieutenant and Deputy Brewer, who is on special assignment, and they are all receiving the Deputy Year Award, but because we want to keep them undercover, we're presenting it to the unit as a whole. So again, I'm very proud of the work they do every day. So congratulations.
Sir.
Well done. And I have letters for everyone. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, then we got to blur the faces out. And Joe, can you just give that to him? Okay, thank you. Oh, there's one more. What's that?
They left all the screws in the wall.
Oh, did
Our
they?
office will just hang on one of those.
Yeah, there you go. So that's our awards, but part of what we want to do, and we want to do a longevity recognition. Now, a lot of these members aren't here. A lot of them have moved or are doing their second phase of their life. But the Ontario County Sheriff's Office extends our sincere gratitude to the members who have gone above and beyond the call of duty for Ontario County for their many years of service. And I think it's important that we recognize these individuals. So in 2019, the following individuals retired from the office of sheriff. Alice McShay, she had 28 years of service. Deputy Dan Bennett with 34 years of service. Deputy Kathy Haberfield, 20 years of service. Deputy Sherry Kelsey, 25 years of service. Sergeant Martin Goschnauer, 32 years of service. Deputy Scott Carter, 16 years of service. And our clerical member, Colleen Rice, with 30 years of service. So in 2019, with those retirements, if you added up their respective time, they had a combined total of 185 years with the Sheriff's Office, which is pretty impressive. In 2020, we saw a significant number of retirees. The county offered a retirement incentive, and we had many members take the opportunity to take the incentive, which I completely don't blame them. But I want to recognize the following members. Sergeant Jamie Alexander, 25 years of service. Lieutenant Greg Schaefer, 22 years of service. We had Civil Deputy Debbie Cunningham with 12 years of service. Deputy Doduro, 20 years of service. Deputy Fagner, 32 years. Senior Communication Officer Jeff Edwards with 30 years of service. Deputy Rob Morse, 20 years of service. Deputy Dave Story, 29 years of service. Even though Deputy Bob Holland's with us today, he's with us in a part-time status. Bob retired with 22 years of service and came back part-time. Sergeant Everett Roach, 37 years of service. Deputy Tammy Viana, 33 years of service. Investigator John Abraham, 31 years of service. Deputy Barnard, 25 years of service. Communication Officer Parrish, 30 years of service. Deputy Cooley, 25 years of service. Deputy Hagan, 28 years of service. Chief Deputy John Storer, 35 years of service. One of our cooks, Bill Phelps, 25 years of service. One of our supervisor cooks, Doug Randall, 20 years of service. Joan Mitchell, 14 years of service, who was our nursing supervisor. And Deputy Hartman, 19 years of service. So in total, that was 21 members that we lost, and we were informed that we have an upcoming retirement, and I'll recognize that in a second. If you added up their respective years and the number of years of service, it was 719 years, if you added everybody's time up. So many of these individuals have gone 20, 25, 30, 35 years, so that's very impressive. Since we have a large group in the room, I was notified today by Sergeant Tomes. I'm going to call you out, Chuck. Sergeant Tomes has informed me that he'll be retiring after, Chuck, how many years? 26 years, 2 months. 26 years, 2 months and what? Oh, no days, no hours? Okay. But I think it's an appropriate time. Chuck, if you're having a party, we'll be honored to attend. But again, we're losing people with great number of years of service. Some of it, they're ready to move on to new opportunities in life. Others, again, folks, this is a difficult time to ever be in law enforcement. That's why we need young adults like John Neal. Okay. And other young adults such as himself. We need good people. We need good men and women that are going to come up and take our places. Because again, if you asked 20 years ago, I would have said you're better off winning the Mega Ball lottery versus having this many people retire. So, did we forget anybody before I do close? Okay. So, oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Charlie Walker, come on up. I know Charlie's here. There he is. This is Deputy Charlie Walker. Charlie and we've known each other for many, many years. Prior to coming with the Sheriff's Office, Charlie was a lieutenant over at the Canandaigua City Police Department. And you had, how many years at Canandaigua?
I had 23.
20 years with Canandaigua. And then Sheriff Pavro hired Charlie, which we're very grateful that he was willing to come over and work with us. I'm going to, because I don't have my notes.
16 years.
16 years, I didn't want to say. So if you look at the amount of time Charlie has served the community, not only the city of Canandaigua, but the county, that's pretty impressive. So Charlie decided to retire fully?
Fully, yes.
And are you sure?
I am.
Okay. So what we want to do is, I told Charlie if he would be able to come today, one of the rites of passages when we have individuals retire, they get the retirement credentials. And basically identifies them as a retired individual and what rank they retire at. And these are credentials that these individuals will keep and be, I'm sure, very proud to carry. So it's my great honor, again, knowing Charlie for many, many years, to present him with his retirement credentials. We hate to lose you, but we understand. So congratulations on all the years of service. Oh, okay. I thought he was throwing it back at me and was coming back to work. So thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Did Tom Biesenbach come today? Okay. Tom, we have retirement credentials for Tom. I don't have the exact year, so I don't want to misquote myself. Deputy Tom Biesenbach, prior to coming to work for the Sheriff's Office, retired from the Geneva City Police Department as a sergeant, came to work for us part-time, and did many years of service. He retired about a week and a half ago, so we'll present Tom with his credentials. And I see Lieutenant Tate Colburn's back there. Lieutenant Colburn is, since we have everybody in the room, Lieutenant Colburn is going to be retiring on July 5th. Okay, July 7th. So you're on the schedule for 2 more days. But Tate has served the office of sheriff for 38 years, and he will be coming back part-time. But I wanted to recognize Lieutenant Colburn while we had everybody in the room. He is having a party. His sons, Alex and Sam, are deputies as well, so they followed his father's footsteps. And again, we're very dedicated, we're very proud of the dedication that you have served for your many years of service. And I know we're going to continue to use you because you'll be coming back part-time. And then Tate's agreed that he's coming out and doing a 90-day position for me. Right, Tate? There's his answer? No. So, but anyways. So Tate, congratulations, and we'll do a formal recognition when you're party. So in closing, I understand that today's ceremony, as I stated earlier, was much different than what we are accustomed to. We typically invite dignitaries, other law enforcement leaders, many more family members. But again, with COVID, we weren't sure how we had to do this. Law Week is typically in May. We want to recognize it then, but we will do that next year with our fingers crossed. So hopefully, again, we've recognized everybody for the work they do. Those that didn't receive an award, you still do a tremendous job each and every day. And myself, the undersheriff, and all the command staff, as well as the community as a whole, truly, truly appreciates it. There's not a day goes by that I don't get a phone call, I don't get an email. I was with a group of scouts last night, and many people at that meeting came up to me and said how proud they are of the work that everybody in this room does. And I can't say that enough. So thank you for what you do. I would again like to thank Donna Schertle for her continued support to the Office of Sheriff and the entire law enforcement community. Donna is one of the big supporters, pretty much, I think she runs it all, with the Back the Blue program. And again, the challenges that we've had to face over the course of the last year and a half, and continue to do so, new bills were just passed last night that now we have to deal with, Donna tries to keep our spirits high and keeps us together as one family. So again, thank you, Donna, and again, the entire community. The citizens, as I stated, who support the office, and everyone else who made today's ceremony, our kitchen staff for some of the snacks they provided. I got to call out one person. I don't think she knew I was going to do this. This is my confidential secretary, Nicole Tillotson. I stole Nicole from public health when I became sheriff, and Nicole's been a tremendous help to me. She keeps my life organized and does all this. So I want to thank Nicole for all the work she does. Again, my sincere thanks to the men and women of the Ontario County Office of Sheriff who protect and serve each and every day. You are all our true heroes and guardians of Ontario County. So with that being said, this concludes the ceremony. Next year, we look forward to having a more formal. We have lots of food here. So if you can, please grab a sandwich or something to eat. Thank you. God bless, and have a good afternoon, and have a safe and healthy summer. Thank you very much.